All right, good evening, members. We are finally on the air. We had a little bit of a technical difficulty. Sorry about that. So tonight, thank you for joining us for our webinar. Tonight, we're going to do a few things. One, we have one of our members who's a guest speaker, and we're going to be talking pretty soon here to Dr. Kane. He's in Knoxville, Tennessee. And then we're going to go over some treatment planning and presentation as well. June is actually our last month for this season, our last month talking about marketing. And then we start in July with our new season, which we're very excited about, going over our videos and treatment planning every month. So we've gone from webinars to teleseminars to now videos, and we have finished recording all those, and they are phenomenal. So they'll be nice modules for your staff to watch and duplicate. And then September, we are going to be in the AIP. You're speaking there, aren't you?
I'm speaking. I'm going to talk about the wellness model in the periodontal practice. Totally different from what we talk about here. Maybe we'll talk about that sometime with the AIP. And actually, you're going to hear a little bit of that tonight. So we'll talk about how the wellness model can actually help to differentiate you and help to differentiate your practice as well. So tonight we are happy to have a charter member of the AIP, Dr. Rob Kane, is in Knoxville, Tennessee. He's been in practice in Knoxville for a long time, since what, 1997, I believe. And recently, is that correct, Rob? Was it 97?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then he got some guts a couple of years ago and built a brand new palace, a beautiful office about 9 miles away from where he was. And he had some adventures. So Rob, thanks for joining us, and thanks for being a member, and thanks for your loyalty. You've been really you've made a lot of contributions since you started. So we're happy to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Lee, and thank you, and Lee and Danielle for having me on tonight. You asked me to talk about this a few months ago, and I've sort of been running through things in my head about what exactly to talk about. And I guess start with a little bit of background on my practice and where I came from. And like you said, I've been in practice since '97. I'm a '94 graduate of UT Memphis, and the perio residency there in '97, and went straight into practice out of residency. And it was a smaller practice. I bought a practice of a retiring periodontist in Oak Ridge, and built the practice up from there using, it was a traditional referral-based perio practice like all of us have pretty much, and things went really well for a long time until the recession hit. And I think, like most of us, we started noticing a fundamental change in the way dentistry is. Referral patterns from dentists, and the way dentists are changing what they do in practice. And we started. I think most of us realize that the recession just made that happen a lot faster than it was going to. But we all noticed the decline in traditional perio referrals from the last probably 20 years, I would say. But that's been replaced by implants, and my practice has been about 50 implants in perio. But I began noticing that slowdown in referrals, and catalyzed by as good referring dentists retire, younger dentists would come in and buy their practices, and they would start doing everything themselves and stop lose referrals that way. I'm also in I think a kind of a unique market here. We are very oral surgeon heavy, and Knoxville area, which is Oak Ridge, Knoxville metro area, is about 800,000 people. And in that 800,000, there are 7 periodontists, but there are about 41 oral surgeons, and which is a huge number of oral surgeons, about a 6-to-1 oral surgeon perio ratio. So this is a very implant-heavy market, and the oral surgeons are doing a lot of implants, and they are pushing implants, and they are well, of course, as part of that, they're not promoting saving teeth, and the dentists have bought into that. They are we've seen just a dramatic decline in perio referrals, and more of an increase in the implant referrals. So it's a difficult market from a competition standpoint. In addition to all the general dentists that are doing their own things now, the super generalists. So it is a complicated, or sort of a complex market that we have. I kind of lost my train of thought.
Well, I mean, we were talking about the fact that number one, you're in a competitive market. I mean, who has? How many periodontists? How many oral surgeons? What's the number? 41.
It was about seven periodontists and 41 oral surgeons.
I think you are unique. I don't think anybody on the call tonight can say they have that kind of a situation.
Yeah, and the oral surgeons are very aggressive. One of the groups here is the largest biomet placing practice in the country. So I think they place about 2,500 plus implants a year. So that's huge. Yeah. So
it makes you awfully unique, though.
Yeah. So I naturally we began getting concerned about the future of the practice, and in the fall of 2014, I was, well, of course, one of the things that made me feel better, makes most of us feel better, is we get on the AAP Connect and commiserate with each other, and we realize that we're not alone out there, that we're all having similar difficulties. And so I started reading your post, Lee, and the things that you were saying made a lot of sense, and more so than any other practice management company that I've been with. I'd been through the Levin management course and the Levin implant course, and they're all still very referral centric, and not focusing on the new reality of that is the referral relationship with general dentists anymore. So when you announced that you were forming the AAIP, I thought, well, this sounds like a great group to be a part of. So I joined, and it has been. It's been wonderful. The advice that you and Danielle give, not only from a marketing standpoint, but from a office systems, office management standpoint, it's been invaluable. We've implemented a number of the strategies that you've talked about, and it's really helped quite a bit.
So what do you think has worked, and maybe what hasn't worked?
Well, things that we're doing, I think one of the most critical aspects is to have a good website. You have to have a responsive website that has to be updated and managed regularly. My first website was years ago, and I think one of the companies at the dental meetings was basically an informational webpage or website, and that was fine then, but things have changed now. We know how much Google affects everything that we do, and if you don't have an updated, responsive website, one that's responsive for mobile, is a biggie. It's amazing how many web searches are done on phones and tablets now as opposed to desktop computers. So Google penalizes you if you don't have fresh content and responsive pages. And if you're driving traffic to the site, then the searches have to land on unique web pages. So you have to work with a good company. And I know you use Gilliard Dental Marketing. I started with my local company called Vio about 3 years ago, and they've been very good. And they're local. They're right down the street. I can meet with them face to face, and they've been learning quite a bit. When we first started with them, their focus was on SEO, on search engine optimization, and that doesn't work very well. And I know, Lee, you've had an experience with that you found SEO is just a waste of time.
I found SEO. You're talking about SEO is free. We have to spend an awful lot of money for that free appear on page one, and no, once we went to pay per click, and it was a totally, totally different experience.
Right, and that's the same thing I found. Pay-per-click has been huge, and pay-per-click has to be managed just like anything else. The ads have to be updated. You have to make sure that the PPC ads are going to unique landing pages, because Google will penalize you for all those things, and so that's critical.
I'll tell you what, Rob, it may be helpful for you to describe pay per click, because we have lots of new members over the past couple of months, and they may not know.
Okay, well, pay-per-click is basically paid advertising on the Google web pages or Google search page, and it's the little ads that you see usually at the top of the screen or on the side that pop up anytime you do an organic search for any other company, and those are ads that whenever a person clicks on them, if it clicks on your ad, you get billed a certain amount for that, and the amount varies depending on the market, on how many people are bidding for that site. So it can range anywhere from $1 a click up to $5 or $6 a click, I guess. And but those are very responsive ads, and it's one of the first things that people will see and will click on, and so that's been very useful, and I think that's probably one of the biggest, as far as internet marketing goes, one of the biggest things that we've done so far.
Good. Now you've tried some other marketing approaches as well.
Yeah. Well, on our website we have the new patient special, and that's the $79 new patient special. We took your cue on that, Lee, where $79 seems to be about the right amount. If it's less than that, patients don't seem to value it very much. If it's more than that, then it becomes almost cost prohibitive for someone to have an exam. So that seems to be a nice, happy medium, and we've had good response from that. In fact, I was looking at our new patient numbers. I'm not sure how the self-referred patient numbers. I'm not sure how accurate they were a few years ago, because we may not have been tracking those as well. But in the last 12 months, we have had, let's see, what did it say? Yeah, 40 new patients in the last 12 months, just from that alone, and many of those have been in the last 6 months. So it's actually ramping up. We're getting more and more of those patients in.
And understand, to everybody out there, you can ramp that up. It's a matter of investment of money and seeing the return that you're getting. The latest thing that we looked at is the magazine, because most of you know that we have a magazine. And our first year with the magazine was a 6-to-1 return. Second year of the magazine was a 10-to-1 return. Now it's actually dropped a little bit as we're investing more money in the magazine because it's producing so much. There is a matter of, we are running businesses, and so we do have to track. And statistics are important. You do need to track on this. You just can't fly by the seat of your pants, or you're going to lose a lot of money. You got to know what you're doing and what you're getting back from it. But the results can be absolutely phenomenal. And when you happen to find something that you're investing in that's working really well, and you put a small budget to it, and you see it's working well, then you add to your budget in order to be able to produce more. And of course, that produces more income for you, and so therefore you have more total dollars to spend on your marketing efforts.
Right. Yeah, what I've been doing the last year or so is just trying different things and seeing what works. And you're right, you have to track the results you get from that. And one of the ways of doing that is to use tracking phone numbers in the different ads that you're doing. Whether it's you have and the tracking phone number is one that is a unique number to that ad, so that when a patient calls that number, it is tracked through, in our case it's HubSpot, that's who our website company uses. It's tracked through HubSpot, and they know exactly where that new patient came from. So it's an excellent way of tracking where you're getting the responses from. So they're not all coming. They still all ring to your main office number, but they're forwarded through those tracking numbers.
And the other advantage, of course, is these calls are recorded, so you can, you know how when people answer the phone, or an office answers the phone, and this call is being recorded for training purposes. That's exactly it. You can say how your front desk or how your phone answers are doing, and you can help them train. And we continue to use that.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and it's a great way of tracking what's going on. Another thing that we've done, we did the implant seminar. That was a topic, I guess, last summer. I forget when the AIP talked about that, but the idea is it's a once-a-month implant seminar for the general public, and you advertise for it through newspaper, radio, website, things like that. And it's basically an informational seminar for the general public. They can come in and you can give them information about implants, and they very often will follow through with at least a new patient exam and consultation. And we've had several of those that became implant patients, and worked very well for a while, but it's tapered off, so we've stopped doing it now, and we may pick it back up again in the fall. But I think, Lee, you had a similar experience with that. The implant seminars worked for a while, and they stopped.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and it's just and that's sort of the nature of this. You try different things, and the nature of marketing. You try something for a while, track it, see if it works. If it doesn't, change, and you try things and see what happens. And that's basically what we've been doing. And the implant seminar worked well. Charitable giving campaign is another thing that you promoted, and it's been very well received. We've got just about every day I have a patient that tells me how nice it is that we do that. And I guess for those of you that don't know what the charitable giving campaign is, that's where the patient writes a check for $50 to one of about 8 charities that we sponsor. And we forward that money directly to the charity, and the patient, in return for that, the patient gets a free exam, and it's gone over very well. Those are for patients that are referred by referring doctors or by existing patients. So they're basically for referred patients, as opposed to the new patient special, which is for a self-referred patient. So it's been very well received, and the charities have been very grateful. All except one. We had an interesting situation when we first started this. With Remote Area Medical was one of the charities that we were going to sponsor. And if you're not familiar with Remote Area Medical, it's a Knoxville-based dental, medical, and vision charity where they go. It was originally formed to go overseas to remote places and provide health, medical, and dental care, but they realized there was such a demand here in the States that most of their mission work now is done here in the States. But anyway, I volunteer with them a couple of times a year, and so we wanted to support them. So we sent a letter to them saying about the charitable giving campaign and what we were going to do with this, and we got a call back from one of the lawyers for the charity, and they said, well, we have some concerns about this. We're concerned that what if a patient donates the money and then is unhappy with your services? Are they going to demand the donation back from us? And yeah, and we said, no, that's not really how it works. It's a donation. It's completely separate from what we do. And they said, well, all things considered, I think we appreciate the offer, but we're going to decline the donation.
How do you like that?
Yeah, I know. So that was strange.
You know, you're going to find a complaint about something somewhere. Boy, do I know that.
Yeah. So everybody else has been very appreciative. We get thank you cards all the time from the various charities, and I think to date we've donated over $5,000 to various
fabulous.
charities.
That's
fabulous. It's been great, and it's been it's really it helps in the PR department on our end, but it's a good thing to do, and patients really appreciate that.
Now, there's a little bit of trepidation you have, Robin, and I know you've said that this is a little bit scary right now, or it is scary going direct to consumer.
Yeah, it is.
Of course, there are some new members here who are where you were 2 years ago. So, what advice would you give to them?
Well, what we've been doing so far, I guess the the other things that I've been doing, we do run some TV spots, and we started doing that to see how that worked, and that's a little bit harder to track. But the focus of all that, of the TV marketing, of just about anything else that I do directly to the public, is educational. I think one of the biggest hurdles that we face as periodontists is educating the general public as to who we are and what we do. Most people know what an orthodontist is. They know what an oral surgeon is. If they've ever had wisdom teeth taken out, they know that. But they don't really know what a periodontist is or does until they need us. So one of the focuses of my marketing is to let patients know that, well, one of the things is they should request, they should be screened annually for periodontal disease. If their general dentist is not doing that, they need to request that they have that. We all know general practices that don't even own a perio probe, much less ever check for any kind of periodontal problems. So I'm trying to educate the consumer that that they, basically what periodontal disease is, what effects it has on their overall health, and the fact that they need to be monitored by the general dentist. If they're not getting that, then they should seek a second opinion, and then to let them know that they can refer themselves to a periodontist, to me, without having a referral from a general dentist. Most people think that because of the way medicine is set up, they have to have a referral to a specialist from their their physician, but in dentistry it's different. So I think if we focus our marketing that way, we can do that without upsetting the general dentist, for one thing. And it's sort of a nice way to navigate that middle road between trying to keep the referrals happy, but at the same time try to stimulate new patients from the general public. So that's where I've been so far. What's coming down the pike in the future is I happen to be married to a general dentist as well. So she is in a practice right now that's 60 miles away from where we live, and she's been in that practice for 15 years now. And she's decided she's tired of driving 120 miles a day, so we're in the process of selling her practice, and then she is going to join my practice. So I'm going to do what you did with your son several years ago, and make that transition from referral-based to basically a self-referred practice with perio and restorative practice.
And it works.
That's the scary part.
Well, we're worried about periodontists not being busy. We've got 2 periodontists and 1 general dentist here. Now, granted, I do the examinations. I'm kind of not doing surgery anymore. I run the AIP with Danielle, and I'm doing examinations and treatment plan. That's what we're going to get into later on tonight. But understand, this is 2 periodontists, 1 general dentist, and we've got a very busy, very high-producing practice. So it can be done. We have this traditional idea that we need 6 good referral sources, 8 good referral sources, and 40 or 50 others in order to be able to make it. No, I mean, we're getting 100 new patients calling us every month, and we're doing just fine. And the practice is busy and doing a lot of productive things. So, it can be done. We don't necessarily have to focus on the old model that we've grown up into.
Yeah, that's true.
So, how do you see us helping in the future, given the fact that you and your wife are going to be together?
Well, I hope to keep learning from you, for one thing, and the different. What I like about you and Danielle is that you're always trying new things, and you're always coming up with new ideas for marketing and for management. And we've learned a lot. We've learned a ton in the last couple of years, and so we're hoping that will continue, and we'll maybe leaning on you more heavily as we make that transition into a different style of practice altogether.
Well, we intend that. There is a lot of consulting that we're doing right now. We've got an office flying in with 8 staff members tomorrow, and they'll be with us for a couple of days. And it's exciting on our end. We didn't know where this was going 2 years ago, but we're having a good time, and as long as you're benefiting from it, then we're going to continue to have a good time.
Yeah, yeah. We plan to at some point make a visit to your office as well. I'm interested to see how you can fit 20 people in 2,000 square foot office.
Now you get with
Sounds interesting.
You're right. Well, Rob, really, thanks for taking the time. Rob really prepared tonight. He comes off so smooth. He really spent a lot of time preparing this talk for you tonight. So, Rob, I appreciate all the efforts you've made to share your experiences, and I know we're going to benefit more from your experiences in the future.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. I'm glad I could share some of this with you, and hopefully there's some benefit to other members as well.
Good. So let's continue a little bit. Rob gave a great overview as to what happens when you go from referral practice to direct-to-patient practice. And understand, Rob is still a referral practice. He's still a referral practice. Understand, we were a referral practice, and we still get some referrals. So this is a gradual thing that we all do. Rob is testing. There are certain things that we do in order to be able to help test marketing. But understand the biggest part of this, and it's not something, Rob, you may want to comment on this for a second. Maybe I say goodbye to you too early, is putting in the fundamentals of practice first. We talked a lot about marketing and PR, but there are fundamentals of practice you need to put in order to make this all work, right?
Right, that's right.
So,
can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine.
Okay. I'll put you on speakerphone, but yeah, I'll go back to this. Okay.
But it is the practice fundamentals. It's how to answer the phone. It's frankly, we haven't even talked about handling statistics and those types of things. But there is the business model that you have to create in order to be able to make this whole thing work. That's why we spend more time on that than we do on marketing. You know, Rob hired a marketer. We've hired a marketer. Do I run the marketer? Of course I do. I mean, you know, I don't tell what I don't micromanage, but I certainly spend a lot of time looking and seeing how the strategies are working. But if we didn't have the infrastructure built, a real sound infrastructure, which is what primarily Danielle, and I'll take a little bit of credit, but not much. Danielle does most of this with the AIP. The infrastructure is put in. If you don't have that, then all of this can be wasted. That's why we spend time on phone skills and training and sales and handling new patient flow. And by the way, minimizing your time at the chair and all of those things in order to be able to make sure that you can handle the patient flow well. And that way, when your marketing is put in, you have everything working for you and everything's working in all wheels are turning in the same direction, so you can take advantage of the marketing. So that's really important. Those of you who have listened, and we talked to somebody last month who said, you know, I had these discs. I really wasn't listening to anything, and I wasn't sure what I was going to do. In fact, I was thinking of dropping out, and then I took a long trip, and I was taking a trip for 6 hours, and I listened to that stuff. You know, that stuff is pretty good. So, you know, it's important that we make sure that we're running a business. Every corporate entity is running a business. Every corporate entity that we're competing against is running a business. We have to make sure we're running our businesses as businesses, our practices as businesses as well. So let's get into a little bit of our next phase of the AIP. You know, there's a discovery that I made. And that wasn't, and I talked about this. I talked about this in something or other. I think it was last month when we talked about the paradigm shift. And the paradigm shift essentially said that everything's changed, and here are the changes that we can make and the changes that we can make together. And it met with a lot of interesting comments, almost all of them positive. But the one thing that I did find is that for those of you in your 30s and 40s and even 50s, you didn't learn treatment planning the way those of us in our 60s and 70s did. That, in fact, we learned periodontal treatment planning really well. We learned periodontal surgery really well. We learned implant surgery really well. In fact, we put in a new residency, or third year of residency. I went through 2 years, as all of you know, or many of you would know that I went through 2 years, and now it's a 3-year perio residency. And that was because of all the new surgical techniques that were available. But there was something that dropped out. And what dropped out was treatment planning. And I'm not talking about periodontal treatment planning. I'm talking about restorative treatment planning. Remember, we've talked about being the director of dentistry. Well, being the director of dentistry means you have to direct dentistry. You need to be able to understand all of the nuances of dentistry, not just perio. See, when I was a little boy in residency, if I said pros consult, then the graduate director, actually the chairman of the program, would say to me, "What do you want the prosthodontist to do?" And I had to commit as to what I wanted the prosthodontist to do. If I said ortho consult, the same thing. Now, for many of us, we say pros consult, and it becomes a group decision as to what's going to be done. In the director of dentistry model, we're saying the periodontist should control all of that. That doesn't mean that I don't get outside consults. I do, if I need them. But I need them about 5% of the time. 95% of the time, I can treatment plan the entire case from start to finish, including crown and bridge, including caries, including everything that needs to be done. And that's the model that we're going to gradually teach you. And so we made this decision to move from question and answer session to a treatment planning model because the need is there. And I hope you find this exciting. Danielle and I are working on this because we're not just doing a treatment planning model. We go treatment planning, and then what does Danielle say to the patient in order to close the case? And that's what we're going to do. And I hope you like it, and I welcome your comments. And Danielle welcomes your comments because we know there's staff members on tonight too. So any comments you want to make before we start?
No, just be easy on me. Don't fight too much when it comes to accepting your treatment plan. But yeah, actually, we want to go over basically what all of you do every day as well, is how we talk to the patient in the room, letting them know what we find, which Dr. Sheldon and I, we do a lot of communicating in the room in front of the patient, so that when I take the patient to the financial room, they know, and they're they're aware that Dr. Sheldon and I have discussed it, that I understand what's going on, so it's not that situation where I didn't hear him say that, or I don't think that that's what he meant, and that sort of thing, which we had a lot of that go on when the treatment plan was being passed to a front desk person or somebody who wasn't in the room. So we make sure that the financial person is present in the exam room right when the treatment planning discussion begins, so that the person who's going to be presenting the plan is asking the questions to Sheldon. Are there any options? Can the patient have something removable as an option? Can the patient have one implant versus the 2 implants? Is there any way the patient can have implants instead of saving the teeth because the patient has expressed to me that they don't want to have repeat dentistry? Whatever it is, I want to make sure that we're clearing all those things together in the room, so the questions don't come up in the financial room when Dr. Sheldon's no longer available. So that makes the patient know that I'm competent, I understand, we have discussed it, and it builds that relationship between the patient and I very well. So usually when Dr. Sheldon is going to do what he's doing here, which he's explaining to the patient what's going on, the financial assistant is in the room listening and taking notes.
So let's take a look at this 43-year-old female who came into our office saying, "I want all my teeth extracted. I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of spending time on my teeth. And by the way, take a look at the way these teeth look." It's okay. So I looked at her, and you can all see the caries that's present. Okay, caries here. There's also caries on the distal of tooth number 7. You can see the incisal edge, which is also undermined by caries. You can see those things that are going on. 43-year-old female, pretty. She said I could show her mouth, but I couldn't show her face. Pretty. She came in with her husband, and she said she wanted all of her teeth out. So let's take a look at the PAs here. Okay, anybody in the group say she ought to have all of her teeth out? So there's nothing here that would indicate the teeth need to come out. Yes, there's caries. So, by the way, she's under pain management because of a lower back problem. So I looked at her, and it didn't take much for me to say what I felt. And of course, I said it right in front of her husband. I said something like this. I said, what you're seeing in your mouth is a reflection of what's going on in the rest of your body. How much sugar do you eat? And she eats a lot of sugar. And she was a little bit reluctant to talk about it, but then her husband told on her. She's eating sugar all the time. And so the next part of this was, well, if what I'm seeing here is going on in your mouth, well, that's going on, as I said, it's going on in the rest of your body too. We just have to be able to see it in your mouth. I said, you would be absolutely crazy to take all your teeth out. All you're going to do is trade one problem for another. The real problem is what you're eating and what your diet is like. On a patient like this, I may very well use something called nitrazine test paper. Nitrazine test paper is a pH paper, and you can have a patient. I'm not sure I did it with this patient. I don't think I did, but you can use nitrazine test paper, and it measures pH on a gradual scale. And we all know normal pH of blood is 7.2, neutral pH is 7.0, and so a person can take this litmus paper and put it in their mouth, and you have a graduated scale. You can say, oh, you got a pH of 5. Your mouth is acidic. You've got to do something about that. But here we had sugar. She has to do something about that. I'm sure her mouth was acidic anyway. So let's go through the PAs just so you can see these a little bit better. Okay, you may see a little bit of radiolucency right here on the mesial buccal root of tooth number 3. And we see the caries on the mesial 6 and the distal number 7. No toothache, no pulpal involvement, at least not yet. There's other areas of caries as well. There may be some indication of caries here. You've already seen the fractured incisal edge. But look at the bone support here. And I'll show you the periodontal probing examination. You probably already saw it while I was getting this ready. By the way, there is a problem right here in tooth number 19. Furcation problem. You'll see it better on the bite wing. In fact, let's look at it on the bite wing here. Okay, so we can see what's going on here. Crown is short of the margin. We can see that something is going on here, likely carious, more probably a fracture of the tooth. Anyway, tooth number 19 has pretty much had it, hasn't it? Okay, and we've got caries in the mesial as well. So number 19 isn't going to make it. That, I agree, should be extracted. We come across bone levels, bone levels, bone levels. Imagine if I had listened to her. Or, let's put it another way. Rob is practicing in a town of 46 oral surgeons, or 41, whatever the number was. How many people would say, yeah, you ought to have your teeth out, and we'll do upper and lower implants and hybrid prostheses? Okay, you could see that happening if the patient could afford it. It is missing tooth number 30. You know, there's some caries going on here, no question about it. Okay, now I don't have an open mic right now, although Rob's mic is open, so Rob, you can comment on it. Anything you want to comment on?
I was just saying that this is, I see this type of case all the time. Patients that refer themselves for second opinions because they were told that they need all their teeth taken out. And yes, they have a few bad teeth, but the majority of them are very savable, very salvageable. And it just requires education. And we have to educate not only the patient, but also the dentist as well.
It's true, and we've got to understand that we're doctors first, and then we're treaters second. We've got to be diagnosticians first. I'm going to show you some things we did, but you can read what my assistant's notes were for that new patient examination. And let's just go through that. New patient examination today. Fentanyl patch for lower back pain. Xanax for anxiety is needed for stress. Melatonin for sleep. Smokes a pack a day. Patient says she wants her teeth pulled and all dentures. She was told that she has multiple teeth issues. Nothing hurts right now, but filling the upper anterior front and the lower left tooth bothers her at the bottom. Her last PM preventive maintenance was 6 weeks ago. That's cleaning. So we took a CT scan. We did a snap, and I'll show you a snap on another patient. I'm not going to show it to you tonight because it's not really germane. And full mouth series was done. You can see the blood pressure and pulse. And I'm going to cough while Danielle says something. Okay.
That's
Good.
quick.
You didn't say anything. Okay. Okay. She says she uses her mouth to open things, like fingernail polish bottles. She also says she eats a lot of sugar, used to eat candy in bed, and not brush after, per her husband. And by the way, every chance you get, and I know you already know this, make sure you're bringing the spouse with you. The worst thing that can happen is I explain everything to the patient, and then the patient says, my husband's in the waiting room. Can you explain that again? And of course, the patient isn't there. What's if the husband isn't there, the spouse isn't there, then what's the spouse going to hear at home? How much it costs? Nothing else. So make sure, and we do this in our new patient letter. We say, please bring a spouse or a loved one with you to the examination visit. And there are a lot of spouses who come in to the examination visit. This is a special thing. This is a big deal. And this is what we want to train our front desk staff to say, that it is a big deal. You're going to a special dentist. This isn't like going to a regular dentist anymore. And it's a major decision that's going to be made. Okay, the last 24 hours, patient drinks a lot of coffee with cream and sugar, muffins this morning, hamburger last night for Mother's Day, but not eat it. And she says she does not eat well, eats a lot of cereal, no veggies, fruits in the last 24 hours. And by the way, if you want a diet history, remember in school they said take a five-day diet history. That's a bunch of baloney, you know that. Just ask the patient, what did you eat or drink in the past 24 hours? That's going to give you a good idea as to whether that patient's having 5 servings of fruits and vegetables a day, or according to the American Heart Association, American Cancer Society, at least 9 servings, at least 7 servings a day, and it's 7 to 13 servings a day that they say we ought to be eating. All of us should be eating that number of fruits and vegetables, primarily vegetables, by the way. And corn is not a fruit or a vegetable. Okay, so I said the patient has good bone. You want to take a look at the probing examination, and you can see what the probing examination is all about. Let me get a little bit bigger on the screen. And you can see periodontally it's fine. Number 19, whenever I don't want to probe a tooth because I know it's going to come out, I write down 15, 15, 15. Okay? It didn't have 15 millimeter pockets. I just know I'm not going to keep it. Why torture the patient? So, no, I don't want to give that away. Oh, don't read that. Please don't read that. All right, so let's look at the CT scan.
We're going to have a late one.
Yeah, we are. So let's take a look at the CT scan, and let's go across the CT scan. Really important to have a CT scan. Notice when we do our $79 examination, if I find out at the new patient phone call or the doctor's phone call that the patient has multiple problems, I'm going to order a CT scan. I want the CT scan ready for me at the time of the examination. Why? Because we can do this. We can scroll. We can show how good the bone is. If I'm considering doing dental implants, I can see how good the bone is. And the bone is darn good for dental implants, right? So that's the upper. Let's go down to the lower. And let's scroll through number 18. Okay. A little bit of a radiolucity right here at the apex of 18. 18 probably isn't in very much function at all, is it? By the way, up until this week, now that we're going to start doing our own surgical guides in the office, my associate, Michelle Furtado, was we took a course with Rick Ferguson a couple of weeks ago, and we ordered a printer, a 3D printer, and we're going to be doing our own surgical guides. I used to take the CT scans in occlusion so I could see where the occlusal contacts were. Now we've got to open it up again because we're going to be making the surgical guide so it can't quite see the occlusal relationship. But we can look at number 19, and you can see all the shadows that are here. Certainly not salvageable. We'll look at number 20. 20, the apex is doing okay. And we'll just scroll quickly across. You can take a look at this. Pardon me while I continue to cough. Looking good. And then we go to number 30. And number 30, the bone looks good. In fact, let's take a look at that bone in relationship to the opposing tooth. Okay, so that lines up pretty well. Last time I have a cookie. Oh, we got a nice present. Oh, Beth from last week, our guest last week sent me some delicious cookies. I cough when I have cookies. Okay, so now let's look at the Anatomos software. And I find this software to be absolutely invaluable. Let's look at it in this perspective first. And patients, how do patients react to this? Go ahead. You can talk so I can cough.
They always say, wow, oh my gosh, oh, that's freaky looking. Oh my goodness, what? They're just completely amazed, one, that you're moving their jaw around, and two, that you can see the entire anatomy of their face. Yeah. So they're a bit wowed by this whole thing.
So I do this, and yeah, they see it. They see that. And one of the things that I'll say, particularly in a patient who has a lot more teeth missing than this, so you see this tooth, this is a three-rooted tooth up here. That's taking an awful lot of force. When you close down, that tooth would take a lot of force. All you have is these smaller teeth now to take the force. Wouldn't it be better to have this tooth in function again? Particularly if we see somebody who has chipped teeth in the front, or grinds their teeth, or something like that. Or we see drifting of teeth, whatever. We all know the importance of molar occlusion, and here there are no molars at all. The first molars are gone. And so we'll emphasize that point. I'll also emphasize this point. You can't see it right now because of the radiation scatter, but tooth number 19 is no good. It's lost a lot of bone support. It's infected, and that tooth needs to come out. Let's do this. Let's put a couple of implants in place. So put an implant number 19. And let's put an implant number 30. And let's just see what that would look like. So we go back to the screen, go back to the teeth view. And there's the implant in place, number 19, obviously. There's the implant in place, number 30. Now it's not quite there. It's outside the bone. So let's click on that. Put it in the bone. Could we use a longer implant, a wider implant? Of course we could. So we could go longer, wider. We could do that. Let's do the same thing on this side. Now notice, you see this dark area right here? I'm talking to the patient now. That's an area where the bone is gone because of the infection that's coming from the tooth. So we're going to have to patch that bone a little bit with the bone graft. Let's make that a little bit wider. Okay, and that's essentially the way the implant's going to be. But, you know, the implant really doesn't mean anything without putting a tooth on it, does it? So let's put a tooth on it. And let's adjust that tooth. This tooth is a little bit too high. So let's bring that down within the arch. And the same thing with this one here. And there are your teeth in place. Now this tooth will function against this tooth and will take all of the stress that it needs to take, that it should be taking. Just get a different view here. You can see how much of a difference that would make. Now this tooth is taking the stress, so now these teeth will be taking less stress. And here, with this tooth coming out, and by the way, this tooth is fairly badly decayed. We saw that in the previous x-rays. This is going to make a big difference for you. This will allow you to maintain your chewing function against this tooth and take the stress off of the other teeth. And that's what the Anatomos software can do for us. So this is the wow experience that the patient says, where nobody ever showed me that before. This is the type of thing where now patients can see this, and they can see this the way they would ordinarily look at it, where they can appreciate it. They don't care about the implant, they care about the tooth. And now they can see a tooth in place. So let's go back to some of the other data. Okay, so essentially we talked about here the evidence of caries that's present, because caries is a problem, isn't it? And it's not periodontitis. So we talked about that. We talked about sugar control in fruits and vegetables. And given the fact that Stephanie admitted there was a deficiency, essentially I said this. I said, listen, I'm not sure. You need crowns, by the way. You need crowns on those front teeth. But frankly, with the sugar the way it is, I'm not sure that it's worthwhile you spending the money on the crowns. Because the things that's causing these teeth to decay will also cause the crowns to decay. How about if you change things? How about if we change the diet? Are you interested in getting nutritional counseling? And she said yes. And the husband supported her. This is really important. Lisa sits at our front desk, but Lisa took an online course in nutrition over a 1-year period of time. And she does have a certificate in nutrition. Over the past 5 weeks, we've scheduled like 6 patients with Lisa for nutritional counseling.
And they've all been extremely, extremely successful and happy.
There is a staff member in your office right now who's interested in doing nutrition counseling. And for the few $1,000s it's going to take to train that person in nutrition counseling, you can make a tremendous difference for your patients and for your office, because now you're offering something that nobody else offers. The nutrition counseling is, and you should eat this and you should not eat that. Essentially, nutrition counseling goes into the patient's history and the reasons for the patient's history, diet history, really gets into it deeply. And so the patient can now focus on what she doesn't know, can learn something, and also can focus on the reasons that she doesn't, and makes changes. So when people say, I'm thrilled with the nutrition counseling, it isn't somebody saying, do this and do that. It's essentially spending, what, is it an hour a week with Lisa?
An hour a week, yes.
Yeah, until, and there are, as in any counseling, there are ways in which we can help counsel a patient, help make that patient, have that patient discover things on her own. So essentially what I said was this, the temporary fix is a fix 6, 7, and 8. That's what's bothering her right now. You saw it there. I don't have to go back to the photographs. You can look at number 6, and we can put a composite number 6, and we can put a composite number 7D. We can straighten out the incisal ledge on number 8, and that's because my son is working here. But you're referring out right now to your best restorative dentist, and essentially you say the same thing to the restorative dentist. Listen, she's got a sugar problem. We're working with her. Can you just make her look good for now? And later on, we'll do the crown and bridge. And the restorative dentist, what do you think the restorative dentist is going to say? So we don't want to jump into treatment that a patient isn't ready to receive. We also know that number 19 is failing, and that needs to come out. And we know the patient is missing tooth number 30. There's also caries in other parts of the mouth, but let's just concentrate on these areas only. Okay, so 6 is going to get a repair, a composite repair, 7, same thing, and 8. And we're going to take out tooth number 19, and we're going to put an implant in with a bone graft and a membrane and PRGF. And number 30 is going to have the same thing. And by the way, when we get all done, we'll put a custom abutment in crown number 19, custom abutment in crown number 30. Now, you guys may want to do a screw retain crown, so do I, so we might do that. But it costs the same anyway. And then I turn the patient over to Danielle.
And as we're in the room and Dr. Sheldon is speaking to the patient about this, if there's something that the patient had disclosed to me before I brought Dr. Sheldon in, I'm going to bring those questions up to Dr. Sheldon. So, for example, for this patient, first and foremost, she wanted her teeth out because she didn't want to have to deal with the dental issues anymore. And as you saw in her picture, she doesn't have that bad of dental issues. I mean, we've seen so much worse than that, but she doesn't know that. I mean, in her head, she's the worst case that we've ever seen. So, you know, I'll be sure to say something that means that when he starts talking about the composite fills he's going to do, and I'll just reiterate and I'll say, Dr. Sean, those fills that you're doing on those front teeth, that's going to take care of those chips that she's concerned about. And then we'll look at a more permanent fix, you know, later on down the road, right? And he'll confirm, yes, that's, you know, that's what we're going to be doing. And so if there's, and that was really, I think, the only concern that she had. But if there's something that I felt like he wasn't explaining good enough to her, because most patients aren't going to ask the question in the chair. They're still a little bit embarrassed. They're you know, processing everything he said, and they're going to be more comfortable to bring up those questions again to me in the room. So I want to be sure that he's addressing them all. So he's given me the plan that he just explained, and I go into the room with the patient, and I sit down with the patient, and I'll just say, all right, Stephanie, so we were in the room together with Dr. Sheldon, and he, you know, everything he explained to you. Do you have any other questions before we begin? And usually, since we had worked out all the questions in the room, you know, usually they say no. So I'll reiterate and say, okay, Stephanie, so, you know, you came here because you were concerned with the cosmetics of the teeth, and you were concerned about the repeat dentistry, and your request when you came in here was for us to extract all your teeth and just give you dentures. And as you heard Dr. Sheldon explain, you know, we don't need to do that. That, you know, we can save your teeth. You know, some dental facilities are in the business of dentures. Some are in the business of crown and bridge. Some are in the business of saving teeth. Some on implants. We're in the business of making you healthier, because when we know that once you're healthier, your dental condition will get better. You're going to feel a lot better. Your investment's going to be much better taken care of, and it's going to be a better situation altogether. So we're not going to go fast with this. We're not going to go fast and deep in the pocket. We're going to go slow, because there's bigger things going on right now than just getting the teeth out. So we're going to schedule you to start with some health coaching with Lisa. And Lisa's going to come in here, and she's going to get you scheduled with that. And it's going to be something that's just going to bring some awareness to you on how you got where you're at. Patients that we have that do this health coaching absolutely love it. It's so rewarding to yourself, and you gain so much success. And not only are you going to get a better dental result, which means less repeat dentistry. You're not going to have the teeth chipping, the decay, the stuff happening. You're going to feel so much better overall. I mean, you're 43 years old. You're very young. You have a long way to go, and you're already starting the signs of deterioration. We want to stop that now. We want to put more of a quality of life, and we want to stop this breakdown. So that's first and foremost. Then, you know, we're going to, or at the same time, we're going to do some of those composite fillings on those front teeth, because that's going to make you feel better, of course, and just get that patched up. That's something that's going to be very minor, very quick. Dr. Matt is going to get those looking great for you, so that you can just start feeling better about your smile and working on your health. At the same time, we're going to address the other issues that are resulting in the breakdown of your teeth. So we're going to take out tooth number 19, that tooth on the lower left. That's a tooth that needs to go. It's causing some problems, and we're going to get that tooth taken out. We're going to do a bone graft in that area, because that's a pretty big 3-root tooth there, so it's going to leave a pretty big hole. We're going to put a bone graft in that area, and then we're going to put an implant in that area, so that you don't lose that tooth support, as you heard Dr. Sheldon talking about. And here you can see in your x-rays again, I want to point out to you that taking away that 3-root tooth that you have there is going to mean that you're going to have all those little root teeth taking all the forces. So right now you just have that side, but as Dr. Sheldon showed you, we got to get rid of that tooth, because it's not doing well. And if we leave the forces on those small root teeth, you're going to have more breakdown, and you're going to see more chips, and you're going to see the teeth starting to splay and move and have spaces. So what we're going to do is we're going to replace not only that tooth, but the one on the opposite side as well, so that you can have both sides with those 3-root teeth that are taking the forces like they're supposed to do. And implants are strong. Implants are made to take on the forces just like your natural teeth. That's what these are going to do. They're going to take on the forces to protect those front teeth so that you don't have the continuous breakdown there. So we're going to do an implant on both sides. Then what we're going to do is once you're past the health coaching and you're aware of the dietary changes you're going to be going through, and those implants are now nicely healed in there, we're going to put some custom abutments on those implants, which is the piece that connects the implant to the tooth. An implant is a three-part system. The implant you're never going to see. It's below the gum line. It's in the bone. It's that anchor in the bone that acts like a root. It's essentially a prosthetic tooth root, and that's in the bone. What you're seeing here on this model is an abutment. There's actually two different kinds of abutment, and I'm just going to do a quick education for you here, because a lot of patients that come in here are asking why there's a price difference on some stuff, and essentially I'm going to show you, you get what you pay for when it comes to that. This white one here that you see is a custom abutment. As you see, a custom abutment, it's prettier, it's bigger, it covers the almost the entire area of the missing tooth. The other one that you see is a stock abutment. It's skinny and tall. So what happens is when we cement or put that tooth onto that abutment, the one that you see in gold here, the stock abutment that's skinny here, it's going to take on a lot of the cement. It's going to cause more problems and result in either poor gum health or irritation or essentially implant failure. On the other side, as you see our custom abutment there, it's going to be nice and flush with that crown, so you're not going to have those problems, and that's what we prefer to have. It's cleaner, it's safer, and it results in a better longevity for your implant. So that's how it's going to be restored once we're all done. Implants look and feel just like natural teeth. You'll be able to eat it just like you're eating now, raw nuts and meats and raw fruits and vegetables with those teeth in there. And that's what we're going to do to build up the teeth in there and be sure that you're getting everything that you're looking for while saving your teeth. And also, lastly, is everything goes well with that health coaching, and we can reduce the sugar, and we can look at investing in some crowns on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11, which is going to be a more permanent fix for you, because these composite fills that we're doing, they're not going to last forever. They're going to chip off again. And these crowns are going to look nice, feel nice, and it's going to be a permanent fix there, but we're not going to plan those for you at this point. We're not going to do those for you at this point, because if you can't make those dietary changes, we're not going to waste your money on those crowns, because essentially they're just going to get some decay underneath those as well. So right now, Stephanie, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to schedule you for the health coaching. We're going to schedule you for those composites, and we're going to get you on the schedule for those implants so we can start that process. And the only thing I need you to do is do your part on the health coaching so we can graduate you along. So everything that you see here all together comes to $11,993. And the way that we take care of that is, as we're scheduling these, we go on ahead and we collect in advance. That way we can get everything scheduled and have no hiccups along the way. 3 different ways that you have, 3 different choices you have to pay for that is, first, we have Care Credit. Care Credit is a phenomenal company that we work with a lot, and they offer you 12 months interest-free financing, so you can comfortably pay for that within 12 months with no interest. If you want smaller payments, you can do that as well. It's just interest-bearing, and that goes up to 48 months. Or you can pay as you go. If you want to pay as we do the appointments, you can do the health coaching first. Then a few weeks later, you can do the resin composites. And then a few weeks later, you can do the surgery. It's really not that long of a span that you have to do this. So if you feel more comfortable doing that, by all means you can. But lastly, the most popular way that we have to pay is if you pay everything in advance, we give you a 5% discount. That saves you about $600, which is a nice savings there. And then we could take that off the total amount, bring it to $11,393, and then that will get you all set for all your treatments. Then we're going to go over the consents. We're going to go over the financial. Most people do pick that discount because $600 is a lot of money. I usually refer it to a lot of gas because gas prices are going up. And then we get the patient scheduled and excited and ready to go. That's my part.
That's good. And that's how we do it. And so that's a little bit of an idea as to what we're going to be doing monthly in the AIP in order to be able to introduce some of these concepts. And we intentionally picked one that was a little bit simpler. We're going to get more complex. But we just want to get everybody on board with the idea that, well, let's take a look at tooth number 6, for example. Tooth number 6 is going to need an MIFL, a four-surface filling. Tooth number 7 is going to need a DIF, okay, a three-surface filling. And that way you can start to plan with your restorative dentist, and you can start to get used to the idea of what of that part of the treatment plan. We're not talking about occlusion. The occlusion here is pretty good. We want to start getting into restorative dentistry and really be able to plan each part of that, not just the periodontal part of it. I expect and hope that I'll get questions, particularly from those of us who may not be used to planning restorative dentistry, because even if you're working with referrals, and all of us are right now, then if you can prepare the patient better and you can start to direct the treatment plan as Danielle just discussed and as I just discussed, then you're going to be getting a lot more acceptance. Danielle, what would happen? Let's assume that we were working with a referral source. Mm-hmm. How would you handle it that way?
Well, usually I would still give it exactly the way I did it with the exact same fees, because our fees are usually higher than anybody's fees. So I can safely say your total is going to be, but I would say your total is estimated at around $11,900. X amount is our cost, other amount is your general dentist cost, and I would put all that in the financials, and usually all the dentists that we work with are okay with that because they know that once they get to their office, the fee is going to usually be the same or a little bit less, and I write that on the financial. Your estimated treatment plan with Dr. Brown is going to be around X amount of dollars, could be more, could be less. This is usually what it does run for that. And I'm going to sell the entire case that way, collecting only our amount, but preparing the patient, because I don't want the patient to come back and go, well, I thought that was everything, or I didn't know I had to pay that doctor, so I prepare them for everything before they leave.
Good. And it's really, really important. Your doctor will appreciate it. And frankly, the patient only wants to find out the entire thing at one time. They don't want to say, oh, my piece is this and your piece is that. And then there's a discussion, well, what, you know, it needs to be closed in one office. It really does. When we were working strongly with referral sources, that's exactly what we did, and you can do that too. So please send your questions to us, concerns, what would you do in this kind of a case. We want to get more clinical here, and that's what we're going to be doing each and every month in the second session of the AIP. Next month, we're going to talk about social media. We're going to have a guest who does set up social media campaigns and talk about how it can be to your advantage. And Kerry's a real good guy. Kerry actually is doing our videos, our training videos for this coming season. And he said that would be a good thing to talk about. So that will be in our first week of June, whenever that is. We'll let you know what it is. Thanks for joining us for this edition of the AIP. Sorry we ran a little bit long, and thanks for staying with us. We'll talk to you again real soon.
Good night.